ngambi kino lyontene titarangiri gochoro unalichi kulitakeire arwa ushahidi bwaye na nchemo bolia maswali naende hearing yeju akukuwa na no mushahidi nyono yo matarengo oliontene titarengorwa ntoiri evidence yende yons iyo kuworo kinga na buneta machika iyo bari bataba na buneta gotokorangiri bunto tebiri kandi yonse nga gose twakorere uchunguzi twanyorere kwakorera amagosa ya uchunguzi neroro kereri gose litwalinyore no koreta amagosa kero tekaransa buna ngano mu wakili anoko baburi ngabono mwaturangiri gocha ngayo lia olio tenene tio yale kyane no manyete ngakya mutene robote evidence the chairman then did not respond yondo Nyanumba na endo mu wakili anoko baburi ngairende evidence here even on paper mogoto gambe tei to kaira na kotini wane kina kukere kotini aba baamwere gonteniega egas ikine ki getaraera bono kwanere ogotenu kwane kwegasi goro. That was a very sad day for me. Kenegento kiebitina na enda manganare county yemonoega emechandero menene yubukenyomba nenda mwamu yebirogo enara mangana abero kato chandira bano abantu mbale bale kungaino mugabana nga nakerega bana ga gocha no mu Clerk yo mbanje na ntingo mu Clerk ne civil servant abande baga deyo mugabana oyo no muntu bungwaye etiga bagende no ngwaye abande baga teba bagetutu abatuchanda muno so again the kiabete igoro eri siasa. There was no evidence whatsoever. Iyo kogero omuntu tonene gwemera no ligereria ebintu biri bambe kiriti nabo kuligerenga nebitina byoka byalengoro byo mugako likombo oyo bono goja gontene nini garo liribaga nga omuntu yuli ko bagosana no libona into tuwaterili gato murusiriyo ikyagire gendo bategetene kero kyo Clerk ageda imangana abakwere kero kyo Clerk tatiga again to kere very painful abantu mobante bainyoro omokia abantu bakobe kekera bagukina kera bagosoma gutira bakwerwanerera paka baje kwekesi baikire komakanyoro monto ndorura sakuru otebire ngo monto imogute ekero ko butomonto koikonto inyorenga abantu mbali magega yaye nere bamutarete chiyanga batagete obukonyi kubasa egende kikyabete igoro aba MCA baito ego bachorire bakorera abantu egasi tari gocha kubuta abantu committee ega ikaranza moisonde ekarate ikaranza esa committee tukabero mpaka chinsa iberi chabutuko ega the following day bagachikoroshe report. The report ega ikiwa assembly mugaso sanana ikaraya batepole ekarusiwa ekairwa house business committee ekarusiwa house business committee ekairwa assembly echigwa akichikora na emotion yekabire yo kurusyo monto eta keiro korwe notice ya 3 days egere aba MCA libaga barasoma barore amashitaka baegwe n'obushahidi buria bwakera lishitaka baligererie barore gusinobo kene ayonsi tabet. So that was a political process. Bantu mbaye time basome baligererie samagosa aba MCA mbara bakuru nabo bare wekora nga mbamanyete amachi nabo bari gukwana muno wakwere samangana amagega abandi bari gutucanda guheta iga nga entare kibese nchikokore campaign kibese chikobora abantu bari de shida. So a decision ya igoro yange completely unprocedural. Munabona n'abatebiria ekera kitariki ekyo 25 cy'umutenyukane ekera narangire tugwapya before the board. My accuser was not there. Wano amachiko ye sende yons onye kwairuru kotini omuntu oli okwirire kotini bwangire gocha kurobo shahidi ngaki ekotiera akore ko egoshibe wane bodi yane egyachiete eka mutemeremo bo shahidi botayi oli orenge kondwani ose onteneti tachi tiachi kurobo shahidi na bantu bali baje kora tumbaje tubaje kurobo shahidi bakamanya gutuma a decision yabo chese a select committee. A select committee ikira that is a political process. Yakina select committee nero njabwe nete invite board echiche echeko kwere a select committee nga onye bashahidi mba chite liri bagambete kina nga kiba korete bagateba nga oyo tigabutwe bakamanya koire decision yeyo mpaka sa select committee. Now that's the big question. Has dismissed you without witnesses, without the evidence of the accuser. And then now they are asking the counter assembly, we want you to approve this dismissal. That select committee accepts to interrogate the matter without the board that made the decision. That is a procedure that was not correct, because I would have been given a chance to interrogate the board which made the decision that I must be sacked. You don't just sack people when you've not given them a chance to cross-examine those who are accusing you. I never had that chance at the board. But at the committee level, that is where some people were invited to come and testify. There was something very curious in that meeting. We get officers from the county assembly to come and testify, but they are given lawyers, the governor's lawyers, to come and lead them in cross-examination. What was the risk? What risk were these witnesses running at the county assembly? The risk key were run by giving evidence, because a witness comes to give factual evidence, but it is allowed, yes. But when I talked to some of them, they told me actually they didn't ask anybody to give them lawyers. But you see, you get a battle of lawyers that they are representing witnesses, and they want to ask leading questions to the witnesses, so that the witnesses say yes, yes. nga kiwanoroche omonto okogutunga nge work ticket clerk nga manage work ticket yo speaker a work ticket yeko managed, for example no driver nga kiwote you've promoted people and procedurally, and then that list of those people is not produced because I've never promoted anybody without the approval of the board. How does somebody say you are invited to respond to questions before the board, and then there's no letter of invitation and there are no minutes to show that there was a sitting where I refused to take questions? I mean, there are many questions you can ask. Then there is a question of 1.8 million. 1.8 million I was paid. It was actually the arrears I was paid following a court award. And this was a court ruling that awarded all the clerks of the country, all clerks of the 47 county governments. They were given a court award. And those are the arrears I was paid for 14 months. I had not earned that money for 14 months. And then we give them the documents. But when you see the report itself, you find that they are saying they found that the money was illegally or irregularly transferred. So that exercise in the select committee, they predetermined outcome. It was not an objective exercise at all. And that is the sadness of allowing politicians to make certain decisions, because the professional aspect of the disciplinary process ended at the board level. And that is where decisions were supposed to have been made on the basis of evidence. But there was nobody to give testimony, not even the accused. Then the board forgoes its responsibility to professionally hear the case. Then it hands the case over to politicians. And then they don't go before those politicians to defend their position. So it was just a matter of politics that was taking place. Now by MCA, honestly, they were not given time to read that report. They were not, in fact, the report itself did not have any attachment in form of evidence. It was the County Assembly Services Act only that was attached to the report. Only a report that does not have attachment in form of evidence. How can you actually vote for that kind of report, because you've not been given the evidence to prove the questions or the allegations that were at play? So all I'm saying, that my dismissal is totally unprocedural. It did not follow the laid down procedures. It was unlawful. But I really do not think that I want to go back to that assembly under an responsibility, not as a clerk, not as anything. For the time being, I really feel like I am done with that assembly. But I am still consulting with my lawyers to see whether I will fight the stigma of dismissal. I think that's the only thing that is eating me up, because it is an extremely painful decision for a man who has dedicated his 29 years of his life into public service, only to end up at being dismissed by politicians. And I really want to encourage members of County Assembly. Please play your role as leaders. And leaders are meant to be objective. If part of your role is to legislate, then you do legislation for people to obey the laws. So how come that you are the first ones who disobey the laws? Who do you want to follow the law if you can't follow the law? How do you sack people without you yourself following the law? That is extremely sad. So I want to encourage leaders, and particularly these politicians. Always take your time to understand the impact of the decisions you make on people's lives. Like myself, I am grateful to Honorable Match because he stood firm. He understands the history, the intrigues in this county, and if you look at this county and critically analyze the current governance attitude, I mean, you get to understand that what is happening is people being hounded out of office, people being humiliated, people being insulted left, right. That is not governance. Some of us have been in the civil service for long, and we understand administratively what one is supposed to do, how one is supposed to handle issues. But unfortunately in our county, we have introduced politics into professional matters, and that is what is going to bring this county down completely. We have leaders who consider themselves to be above the law. They don't care about regulations, they don't care about procedure, they don't care about the law. They say, if I've given instructions, for the instructions. And that's the biggest problem I've had in that assembly. All along, for the last 10 years, there are people who want you to do the wrong thing because they are your supervisors. And then they give you those instructions. When you don't follow them, the next thing you see is a suspension letter. The next thing you see is a compulsory leave. And you see that cycle of intimidation. And then you will be surprised that they don't learn from the court rulings. You know, some of the questions that I was being asked and some of the allegations were facing me, were allegations that the court had already made a decision on. An example is the so-called petition by staff. I was actually sent on compulsory leave on that petition, and the court threw it out, and the court stated that the compulsory leave was given unilaterally and without requisite jurisdiction. So you see, that's one of them. Another one is about the interdiction of staff. And some of the staff went to court and they were told, no, the interdictions are procedural. All over the civil service, accounting officers have powers to interdict, but they are also taken to task to explain whether those interdictions are within the law. So when these guys went to court, they were told, no, this is a procedural and it's within the law. But you see what was happening? The then speaker is the one who chairs the board. Among those interdicted are his son. Then he sits to make a decision that affects his son. And that's conflict of interest. When you explain a fact like that one, there you see this is conflict of interest. Then they say this person is rude, he does not obey the board. So my frustration has been that you are led by people who do not appreciate the procedure, people who do not appreciate the law, people who do not appreciate policy. And that is where we have the most difficult problem, so that at all times you are like you must do what we are telling you. You must do what we are telling you, and you know it is wrong, but people want you to do what is wrong. So some of the things that I have seen in that assembly, and I must tell you honestly that I dedicated my life to giving this assembly the best that I could. Because when I was sent from Nairobi to come to Kisii County Assembly, we didn't find any structure other than the municipal building. And at the back there, what you would see were overgrown grasses, and you would see junks of old vehicles, and you would see tree stumps and overgrown grass, and we were tiptoeing to the toilet. We have come along the way. If we go to that assembly and you look at how it is now, you will agree that a lot of effort has gone into bringing up those structures and doing the best that there was that we could do. So I have given my best to that assembly, and whatever people say and whatever things they want to say, I live with my head high, a very proud person for the contribution I gave to that assembly. I gave it my all. My only misgiving is that I'm sacked, even with all that I gave and the effort I made.